Welcome again, my friends, to another live stream. Although Bitcoin saw a bit of a quick dump today, I'm still holding my bullish feelings for now on not only Bitcoin, but also a handful of altcoins that I've been mentioning on these live streams. If you appreciate these live streams as well as my realistic analysis and trade setups, do me a favor and hit that like button, because those of you who have been tuning into these live streams, and especially those of you in my private Telegram, I've been seeing actual trading ideas based on charts rather than emotional grasping at fundamentals, which could literally take years to play out. I know many people are getting sick of perma-bear stew. However, I regret nothing about being bearish the last few months, as not only was it very profitable and, in my opinion, a very easy downtrend to play, but we avoided unnecessary losses many experienced by FOMOing into every little bounce that we saw along the way. Now I'm using some of those shorting profits to DCA into longer term holds, and now have heavier bags for the next bullish move in the market as well if we get it. But Bear Boy Stew is finally having a nap, and Moon Boy Stew is back in the house for at least a little bit until market structure starts to concern me once again. Bitcoin on the midterm timeframes is still looking fantastic to me, but possibly even more exciting than that is what that could mean for the altcoin market. And guys, in yesterday's stream, I mentioned that I was going to be taking a long position on hype and would be letting my Telegram members know my plan. And that's exactly what I did shortly after ending my stream. I just mentioned, and guys, actually, I could have got a little bit better of an entry. We did come down and hit my 786 absolutely perfectly, but I mentioned why exactly I didn't want to end up possibly missing the move, because I was so bullish on the 4 hour there. So absolutely playing out beautifully so far. Average entry at this dotted line here. Like I said, had I actually taken it right at the 786, I mean, that would have just been a picture perfect entry. Maybe some of you guys with a little less risk appetite did wait for that and got those perfect entries. Those of you familiar with those STUBER fib setups, that would be absolutely fantastic. And guys, for those of you who are interested in seeing way more examples of how I'm looking at the market, some of my trade setups, strategies, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code on the screen and sign up to BloFin, my personal no KYC exchange of choice, to gain access to my free Telegram channel where I am sharing those thoughts. My partners at BloFin still got this promo running. It does wrap up tomorrow. So really, I mean, less than a day left. I'm not even sure UTC which time that would be. Actually, yeah, less than a day away from now. So not much time left on that. I assume they will hammer out another one after that. But yeah, just showing you, many examples of people being happy about joining the group and that sort of thing. And guys, I actually do, in the description down below, there is also a link for the free Discord, which is basically, it shares all my signals from the Telegram, except there is a 3-day delay there. So if that's something that interests you, that is below as well. But like I said, guys, Bitcoin's still looking good on the midterm to me, in my opinion anyways. I was mentioning yesterday that Bitcoin's done a great job of building support on the way to the upside. And obviously I was talking about the reasons why I was so bullish is the fact we had these lower trending sell signals here. We ended up breaking above this lower sell signal here at about 90.4K, which is what led me to be bullish. And so ever since that, even though we did end up losing, and this is something I mentioned yesterday, that Bitcoin was building many support levels, this would be the micro higher low on the 4-hour trend, which would be sitting around 92K. But I did mention that the MDX Trendmaster was actually a little bit lower, and look where we wicked to. I mean, we're closing our candle bodies right along that higher low structure, but we wicked down to that indicator. Absolutely perfect support there. So still hanging on to that position there. Love to see it. Bitcoin on the weekly, I mean, as the title suggests, I do think that it's possible that the bulls are targeting 100K or even possibly a lot higher. But that would basically be my first target for this setup here, just because, we got this bounce off the 886 here. I assume at some point we would end up either, and I mean, right now, a couple of things line up with that. It's actually about 103K for this level here, which would be the 0.5 fib target. as basically just the middle of this giant range here, as well as we could end up getting a retest of this old support line flipping into resistance. So currently in the next week or two, those two levels would line up absolutely perfectly. Obviously, that doesn't need to mean that we have to get rejected there or anything. I really have a feeling, just because that would be identical to last cycle, right? The fact that we ended up testing up to that 0.5 fib of the range and then getting rejected and carrying on a bear market from there. I don't know. A lot of people are starting to see that now finally. So I don't know if it's going to be that simple that we get the exact same thing play out. And that's one reason why I think we could end up going a little bit higher, let's say to even to 116K and higher, would just be basically this white line here. This is obviously where we lost a support level, because here we had a high, we had a slightly higher high here. Yes, it's micro analyzing, but it is a weekly time frame. And honestly, I just look at structure that way on every time frame, as you guys know. But since we lost that level, I would still consider this our, I mean, it's obvious, but that's our bearish pivot point at this point, and it is not invalidated unless we end up setting a higher high. So as it stands right now, I still have this bearish fib pulled here, because if it's going to play out like a typical STUBER fib, which many, I mean, all the time frames have been respecting them so well this cycle. And I mean, those of you guys in the Telegram who have been following my live streams and that sort of thing, you guys see it all the time on many different shapes and sizes, different time frames, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 1 hour, 4 hour, weekly, etc. I treat all market structure the same. It doesn't really matter what time frame. It just ends up taking a lot longer to play out. So if this were a 5 minute chart, I would be looking for short entries, basically laddering in just below these fibs here. So the weekly time frame, I can't ignore that. At this point, if we do get some sort of an aggressive bounce, I know up here it would be very fashionable to say how bullish we are, because the retail traders and the influence out there who are engagement farming and all that sort of stuff, or just don't know how to trade themselves, a lot of people are going to get FOMO at resistance. And I'm not saying that we can't break resistance. Resistance levels break just like support levels break. Otherwise, I mean, trading would be, it would be automatic and super easy if they never, right? But basically, if we end up getting up to those levels, I have to be cautious at those levels until we at least start setting higher highs and staircasing higher once again. So obviously, there's a lot of what ifs between now and then. There's a lot of time. This is a weekly chart. I wouldn't expect it to play out in the next couple of weeks or even months. But it's just something to put on the radar a little bit early so that we aren't blindsided by it when it does come. So on the 5 minute chart, you guys, like I said, Bitcoin did see a bit of a fairly violent correction there. We were printing these higher buy signals, which I was talking about in the Telegram. Even after this higher buy signal, we did get a beautiful pump to the upside still, but we ended up facing a bit of a rejection. Not too crazy to see, because if I end up turning off this indicator just to clean things up a little bit, if I look at the market structure for what it is, this would have been my confirmed high or low on the trend. Really, even if I wanted to make it this one, it really doesn't matter. I prefer the micro level, so up here. But basically, starting there, if we start looking for a bearish retest of resistance, notice that we never did get the 786, 886, never getting it. And then all of a sudden, we do finally get that push up to the 786, just for a typical bearish STUBER fib rejection there. So maybe some of you guys caught that. I never played the short on that. I was taking some profits off a scalp long that I took, just because I treat resistance as a sell level, whether or not that means I'm getting into a sell position. If I'm in long positions at that time, that's just, as I said, it's a sell level. So I would be selling some of that, some of those long positions, right? So not all too crazy to see that rejection. Yeah, it obviously played out further than the range. Range targets would have been the 0.5 fib, the 214 target went much further than that. But that's where we ended up dropping to that support on the 4 hour, right? So nothing too crazy happened. Yeah, just a quick low time frame volatile move, but all in all, it still looks fantastic to me. Bringing up the trend master, one thing to consider is obviously, so we have a buy signal right now. We're still holding the trend here. It is a lower buy signal, and we do have lower sell signals at this time. And actually, just something catching my eye right now, look where we saw this little rejection here. If we just go from our lower high that I was talking about on the trend, notice where we saw a rejection again, right at the 786. Like I said, once you start to see these, you just see it in all sorts of shapes and sizes. In my case, I love using the MDX Trend Master indicator as confluence. So if this is my sell signal, okay, here's where we pivoted from. There's my bearish fib pull, and boom, we got that. Just a quick little play. Who knows if that play is over or not? We still could end up pushing much lower, but I just have a hard time betting against the 4-hour trend at this time. As far as the title saying potential altcoin season, you guys, this is something I've been talking about for weeks at this point, is the fact that the MDX Trendmaster, once again, on the daily time frame, looking at Bitcoin dominance, we did end up printing another lower sell signal yesterday. So we do have a bit of mixed signals because we have a higher buy signal here, but we now have 2 consecutive lower sell signals. And these are the first lower sell signals in over 3 years, you guys. So that is a huge potential trend shift there. So, I mean, anything is possible, but the fact that the market's looking fairly healthy, in my opinion, with Bitcoin trading okay, with a lot of altcoins looking good and breaking resistance levels or forming some sort of rounding bottoms near a support level, with Bitcoin dominance showing these signs of weakness, that's very good for the altcoin market, in my opinion. Like I said, hype is still looking fantastic. I wish I would have waited for that 786, but actually, you know what? I don't. I wouldn't have been comfortable waiting for it, just because, yeah, I did have a little bit of FOMO on that based on the 4-hour, but I did adjust my entries to, I never had an entry right at the 786. I had another one at the 886 and another one kind of in the middle of my green box down here. But it is what it is. Either way, it is a beautiful trade so far, sitting over 80%. It's a 25xer. So at this point, here's one of those times where, once again, I'm very bullish on this, and I hope to see a continuation with this, because let's just remove the fibs to clean things up a little bit. And so notice that here we did end up printing a lower buy signal, which could be a sign of weakness. However, where, once again, just like I've shown on Bitcoin's 4-hour chart, and yesterday I was showing it on several different charts, when we break that lower, or just the sell signal in general, I mean, in this case, it is technically slightly higher, but either way, we ended up breaking or invalidating that sell signal. And so far, we are holding this buy trend, this pink line here, as support. So I love to see that with hype. Again, many altcoins looking great. Hype was one that really caught my eye just because I figured it was lagging a little bit. And once again, as soon as we ended up breaking that sell signal, because much lower sell signal, here's our pivot. We broke above it, came back, and just kind of minor pullbacks. But that was basically my sign, and I was talking about it in yesterday's video, that I was getting quite bullish on hype for that reason. And so far, it is playing out absolutely fantastic, you guys. SUI is another one, much the same thing. I mentioned this in several previous streams, and that's exactly why I ended up taking a long on this as well. So far, so good. Yeah, seeing a little bit of a pullback, but we still have MDX Trendmaster support below us, as well as even just looking at the micro trend higher low is this yellow line here. So there's still, much like the majority of the market, a lot of assets have done a great job on these little pumps that they've had of building structure along the way. Guys, all right, hopping into some more altcoins here for you guys. I did promise a Telegram member that I would take a look at Doge as well as HBAR. So let's start with Doge. For one, very similar idea here, although it is just a minor wick or a couple wicks. We are flirting with the idea of breaking that lower sell signal on the trend, and I think that's a great sign. The fact that we ended up breaking above it and then coming back down and retesting this buy trend here, I love to see that. So in my opinion, Doge still looks fantastic at this point. HBAR, very similar. Honestly, I can't really pick a favorite in this case. HBAR did break that lower sell signal much earlier. Obviously, we've been just following this buy trend for a little while now. And as well, where we are trading right now, just looking at the microstructure for what it is, we also have our higher low on the immediate 4-hour trend is basically lining up perfectly with the MDX Trendmaster indicator there. So there is still a little bit of support below us if we end up trading to the downside a little bit. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have much of an opinion as to which one I like more. I think that they both look fantastic on the 4-hour. They've obviously broke some tight consolidations, have broke just some obvious resistance levels. I mean, well, let's even say that's our low. This would be our lower low. This would be our lower high right here, which we've obviously broken. So it's, again, there's just so many altcoins right now that look fantastic to me because they've started breaking downtrends and having indicator confluence and that sort of thing. Bitcoin dominance looking juicy for the altcoins. There's just a lot of things lining up. So notice that now is the time where I'm starting to get bullish on altcoins again. I really haven't been that bullish on them since I think it was about July. Maybe some of you guys in the Telegram can remind me of when I was sharing a whole bunch of hype in Solana and Ethereum longs. I believe it was back in July. But yeah, very much feeling the same right now. Not trying to be one of those people who claims it's going to be alt season every single day. Waiting for those confirmations rather than getting wrecked the whole way down. So yeah, it might not be calling a perfect bottom, but you know what? I feel good about flipping a little more bullish more recently here. Ethereum still looking good, actually pumping through my 214 fib so far. Love to see that. Still have a bit of a long position running. I know yesterday it kind of triggered my thoughts that I mentioned that I never took the long position, right? I was mentioning way ahead of time that Ethereum could end up coming back down and testing this purple box down here. Beautiful STUBER fib long opportunity there. I never took that. I am in a long position, but it was not manual. I only am in a long position because one of my bots took an Ethereum long, and therefore I am in from 29.90. But yeah, it's still looking great to me. Still holding this higher buy signal, still holding the purple support, although we are starting to get towards the top of this little range here. So it's worth mentioning. But at this point, I see no reason to be bearish. I would feel actually quite bearish at this level right now if, let's say, this structure would have set a new lower low, because at that point we'd be able to pull a bearish STUBER fib from our highs to our low. But as it stands right now, we don't have a lower low. So yeah, technically we lost this microstructure. So sure, we might see a bit of a rejection here. But again, I have a hard time betting against the bulls right now just because the MDX Trendmaster is one of my favorite indicator. Well, it is my favorite indicator. And I don't really like to bet against it when the signals are trending a certain direction. So the fact that we have this higher sell signal, we have a higher buy signal, everything's still looking good, and I don't really want to bet against it at this point. Jupiter, also a bot long, but I love this one as well, just because once again, we obviously invalidated the lower sell signal, printed a higher buy signal. Everything's still looking good, even with this little pullback today. We still have room to the downside before we see any real support. I mean, we have the Trendmaster down here, as well as the micro higher low is sitting around 0.2122. This structure right here lining up very close with the Trendmaster there. So love to see that little bit of confluence. So Jupiter looking fantastic. AVAX, another bot long that I'm in, from 13.567. Very much the same thing, right? Obviously, guys, there's a common theme right now that we're seeing a lot of these downtrends where we had downward printing lower sell signals on this indicator for literally months at this point. And those signals are starting to get broken and printing higher buy signals. So I absolutely love it. So much the same with AVAX. We have a little bit of support below us. We have the MDX Trendmaster support below us as confluence. So great to see that that trend is continuing so far. Solana, we got up to my resistance box. Notice we actually filled it. We filled the STUBER fib box up to the 886 absolutely perfectly. And Solana is one that actually hasn't. Here, let me bring that back up, actually. we haven't broke the lower sell signal yet, because that pivot point for me would be right about here. And as well, we never even broke the naked structure. Let's just say no indicators included. This would have been our low. This is our lower low. This is our confirmed lower high at 147 US dollars. So this bearish STUBER fib is still intact. Once again, I really don't want to bet against the bulls right now, but it's worth mentioning that we are at a resistance level once again. Zcash. Zcash still so far setting lower lows, confirming lower highs. Right here at about 537 would be my lower high on the 4-hour trend. However, once again, I don't really want to bet against the bulls all too much, because we do have higher trending buy signals. We broke the lower sell signal. I just feel like if there is some sort of a pullback here, I don't necessarily know how long it's going to last, but this is actually one of the weaker charts that I've looked at recently, just because, again, we lost this microstructure and we set a new low and we've set a new lower low, confirming this lower high on the trend. So Zcash, not looking too bad, but just not looking as good as a bunch of the other altcoins that I'm checking. But that being said, I mean, it's been on an absolutely crazy run. So it's possible that that momentum kicks back in. On the daily, we still have MDX Trendmaster support below us. So yeah, on the macro time frames, still looking good there. I still don't know how aggressively I would want to bet against those bulls. Getting into the higher risk meme coins, low cap coins, troll. I mentioned this the last couple streams that, you know, we did end up playing the range. So we're going to have to see what happens. I strongly believe that it really just depends what the rest of the market's going to do. If Bitcoin and altcoins continue looking very healthy, then I expect this thing to do very well, as it has a very similar range forming compared to the last 25x I caught on this guy. We'll see if it happens again. Obviously not financial advice. Do your own research, form your own opinions, because when you got something like this, it's only about a $35 million market cap. It's a meme coin. It's high risk. So it is what it is. Cat with mask, another one looking not so bad to me, holding the support of this range that we've formed for the last, well, I guess since November. So a couple of months here, but also broke this very big downtrend, which I do like this downtrend break because it's got very accurate touch points, right? We have our touch point here, touch point here, touch point here. That's 3 exact touch points followed by a breakout and just kind of holding horizontal support from there. So cat with mask, even higher risk. I think it's like a $3 million market cap. So guys, don't be silly with these. Obviously meme coins and low cap meme coins, especially, very, very high risk. I just cannot stress that enough. Guys, for those of you who do appreciate my level-headed approach looking at these markets, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do like looking at the charts and trading the charts for what they are, rather than the random hopium and fundamentals and clinging on to that sort of stuff that could take years to play out. We're just looking at this market as traders and trading it for what the charts give us. So hopefully you guys do appreciate these live streams. Let me know in the chat how you guys are doing. I hope you're all crushing it this year already. I hope you're all having a fantastic start to your new year. Great to see so many familiar, well, I'm going to say faces in here, but familiar names. Love to see you guys here pretty much every single stream, many of you guys. So I really appreciate that. Thumbs up to you guys as well. Can I look at silver and the SPX? I will, but I am going to look at those in the Telegram channel for you. So be on the lookout for that in the next, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. I will share something in there if anything jumps out. Well, I'll share either way, but I'll see if anything jumps out at me. Is it possible on the Telegram to mention real clear signals for beginners like you, entry, long or short, stop loss, and TP? That gets tricky sometimes because I'm not always babysitting the charts But yeah, if there's any obvious like STUBER fib setups, then it's a lot easier to give those exact levels, which I have done in the past. Right? For what usually I'm looking at the levels. Sometimes I give them much more exact, something like this. When we have the more obvious STUBER fibs, I will try to break them down a little more, but really depends what I'm doing too. A lot of the analysis I do is just on my phone while I'm on the go, and I don't always have the time to type up a big description rather than just firing off a quick one, especially if it's something that I'm taking live that maybe the trade setup could totally change in 5 minutes, and I don't want to spend 5 minutes typing something up. But yeah, I'll try and throw out some more even more accurate signals like that for you. That being said, I mean, you should always do your own back testing and stuff as well, you guys. One thing about relying on other people giving exact signals is, for one, it gives you, well, a lot of people then like to blame other people rather than themselves if things go wrong. But also, it's good to have the idea for yourself whether or not you want to take the trade, just because, I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to trading, if you're taking losses, chances are it's your own fault. Just like if you make winning trades, you also got to give yourself some credit, right? Because at the end of the day, you are the one pulling the trigger on those positions. But yes. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So one last time, if you appreciate these live streams, please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And just a reminder for you guys, those of you who are interested in learning and seeing more examples of some of my favorite trade strategies, how I use Fibonacci's and market structure, give more of my thoughts on the market in general, do yourselves a favor and get in my Telegram channel by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking the link in the description down below. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. I will be in the Telegram to post what I find on silver and the S&P. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.